There is a place in Wyoming where the land simply stops making sense. You drive across a broad, unremarkable prairie, grass, soil, the ordinary earth, and then it rises. A single column of stone, 867 feet above the valley floor, perfectly vertical, perfectly hexagonal at its edges, with sides that descend in long parallel grooves. The tourist plaques tell you it is the result of volcanic intrusion, cooling magma, a natural process. And yet, when you stand at its base and run your hand along those grooves, you are not touching something that looks like wood grain. You are touching something that is wood grain, at a scale that the human mind was never built to process. The grooves are not decorative, they are vascular channels. They are the internal architecture of something that once grew. Clarence Dutton, one of the most celebrated geologists of the 19th century, and the man who gave the Grand Canyon its modern scientific vocabulary, stood before formations like this one and wrote, with characteristic understatement, that their regularity was difficult to reconcile with purely igneous processes. He did not say it was impossible, he said it was difficult. That word sat in his field notes for over a century, largely undisturbed. What Dutton saw, and what official geology has spent considerable energy explaining away, is a structure of such precise biological symmetry that the simplest explanation, the one our eyes demand, has never been allowed onto the main stage of academic inquiry. The central question is one of scale, and scale is where the theory becomes genuinely uncomfortable. The Carboniferous period, documented, measured, accepted, existed roughly 300 million years ago. Atmospheric oxygen during that era reached approximately 35% compared to our current 21%. That is not a marginal difference. That is the chemical difference between a world we recognize and a world that operated under entirely different biological rules. Organisms grew to sizes that our current oxygen levels simply cannot sustain. In that atmosphere, with that oxygen saturation, the logarithmic growth curves for arboreal life become extraordinary. If you model them honestly, if you do not cap the variables artificially, you arrive at projected heights that the modern mind categorizes immediately as impossible, and yet the mathematics do not apologize for the result. 40 miles is not a fantasy. It is an equation with embarrassing implications. The textbook explanation for formations like Devil's Tower rests on a process called columnar jointing, the contraction of cooling basaltic lava into geometric columns. It is a real process. It genuinely occurs. The Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland is its most celebrated example, and there the columns stand roughly 40 feet tall. Orderly, manageable. The photographs are beautiful. But then you move to the Deccan Traps of Central India, one of the largest volcanic provinces on Earth, and the columns grow to 400 feet. You travel to the Tepuis of Venezuela, those ancient flat-topped mountains rising from the jungle like biological plateaus, their sides composed of layered fibrous stone that no standard igneous model has cleanly accounted for. You arrive at Shiprock, New Mexico, a dark, serrated mass erupting from the desert floor with radiating dikes spreading outward like the surface roots of something vast. The same structure, the same geometry, the same biological vocabulary. Across Ireland, across India, across Venezuela and the American Southwest, the pattern does not waver, it does not shift, it simply repeats with the quiet persistence of something that was once alive and is now waiting to be correctly identified. Silica permineralization is the process by which biological tissue, organic matter, living cells is slowly replaced, molecule by molecule, with mineral silica, preserving the original cellular structure in stone with extraordinary fidelity. We know this happens. We have museums full of the evidence. Petrified forests are, by scientific consensus, accepted as proof that biology and geology are not always separable categories. The question that institutional inertia will not ask aloud is a simple one. At what scale does this process stop being possible? There is no documented upper boundary. There is only a boundary of human comfort. Every map is a negotiation between what is known and what is bearable. The maps we have been given of geological time, of biological possibility, of the origins of the world's most anomalous landforms were drawn by institutions that inherited their assumptions from previous institutions in an unbroken chain of comfortable consensus stretching back 2 centuries. Dutton saw the difficulty. He wrote it down, and the difficulty was filed, catalogued, and quietly forgotten beneath the weight of everything that came after. What remains is the stone itself, patient, unreadable by the frameworks designed to explain it, standing in Wyoming and India and Ireland and Venezuela with the same hexagonal precision, the same vascular geometry, the same silent structural testimony. We have built our roads around them. We have named them. We have put plaques beside them with clean, confident explanations. And still, every year, someone stands at the base of one of these formations, places their hand flat against the grain of the rock, and feels something they are not supposed to feel, something that runs in parallel lines, something that once, at a scale too large for comfort, reached upward. The stumps are still here. The question is whether we are willing to look at them honestly, or whether the map we were handed is simply too comfortable to put down. Disclaimer: this video is produced for educational and entertainment purposes only. All alternative geological interpretations presented here are speculative in nature and intended to encourage critical thinking, not to replace peer-reviewed science. Viewers are encouraged to consult academic sources and form their own conclusions.